Captain Alina Vasquez had been flying through space for 15 years. She knew every star, every route, and every danger between Earth and the outer colonies. Her ship, the Morning Star, was not a warship. It was a simple transport vessel that carried families and workers to new worlds. Today, she had 847 people on board. Most of them were sleeping in their pods, dreaming of their new lives on a planet called Kepler-44 to B. Alina sat in her captain's chair, drinking cold coffee and watching the stars pass by. Her crew was small but good. There was Marcus, her pilot, who could fly through an asteroid field with his eyes closed. There was Dr. Patel, who kept everyone healthy. And there was young Tommy Chen, her communications officer, who was barely 23 but could fix any system on the ship. The route they traveled was called the Tau Ceti Corridor. Most spacers called it the Silent Sector. Nothing ever happened there. No pirates, no ships, no trouble. It was boring. And boring was exactly what Alina wanted when she had nearly 1,000 lives depending on her. It was 3 in the morning, ship time, when everything changed. Alina was half asleep in her chair when Tommy's voice cut through the quiet bridge. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," he said. His young face looked confused in the glow of his screens. Alina sat up straight. "What kind of something?" "It's a signal. It's very weak. Could be interference, but—" Tommy paused, his fingers dancing over his controls. "Captain, it's a pattern. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. It's repeating." Alina's blood went cold. Every spacer knew that pattern. It was older than space travel itself. SOS. The Universal Distress Call. Someone out there needed help, and they needed it badly. "Where's it coming from?" Alina asked, already moving to look at Tommy's screen. "A moon. Small one, orbiting a gas giant about 4 hours off our current route." Tommy brought up the data. "According to the database, there's a research station there. Outpost Meridian. Population listed as 42 scientists." Alina studied the weak signal. It was breaking up, fading in and out. Whoever was sending it didn't have much power left. She pulled up the station's information. It was a small facility, studying the moon's unusual mineral deposits. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that should cause a distress call. "Can you clean up the signal? Get any message?" she asked. Tommy worked for several minutes, his face tight with concentration. Finally, a voice came through the speakers. It was broken, filled with static, but the terror in it was clear. Double quotes, ... under attack, ... killed most of us, ... need help, ... they're still here, ... please. Anyone. The message cut off. Tommy tried to get it back, but there was only silence. Alina stood there, her mind racing. She looked at the sleeping pods visible through the window of the bridge. Families, children, people, who trusted her to get them safely to their new home. If she diverted to help the station, it would add weeks to their journey. It would use fuel they might need. And if something had attacked that station, something dangerous enough to kill most of its crew, she would be flying her passengers straight into danger. But those were people on that station. Human beings who were dying while she stood here and thought about it. The oldest law of space was simple. You answered distress calls. Always. Because someday, you might be the one sending them. "Marcus, can we reach that station?" Alina asked. Her pilot was already running calculations. "For hours at full burn, we'll use about 15% more fuel than planned, but we'll still have plenty to reach Kepler-44 to B." Alina took a deep breath. She knew what her company would say. She knew what the safe choice was. But she also knew who she was and what she believed in. "Change course. Get us to that station as fast as you can," she ordered. "Yes, Captain," Marcus said, and Alina heard the relief in his voice. He was a good man. He would have hated abandoning those people too. As the Morning Star changed direction, Alina sent out her own transmission. She broadcast on every emergency frequency, reporting the distress call and her intention to investigate. It was standard procedure. She didn't expect anyone to hear it. They were in the silent sector, after all. No one came out here. She had no way of knowing that her transmission had just been received by a monitoring station on the edge of human space. She didn't know that station immediately flagged her message with the highest priority code in the military database. And she certainly didn't know that her simple decision to help people in trouble had just activated Protocol Omega, deep in the command centers of Earth. Alarms began to sound. Officers who had been training for this moment their entire careers suddenly found it wasn't a drill. The words "First Contact Hostile" appeared on screens across the military network. Within minutes, orders went out to every human warship in space. But Elena knew none of this. She sat on her bridge, watching the stars, and hoping they would reach the station in time to save at least some of the people there. She checked her cruise weapons locker and felt a sick feeling in her stomach. They had stun batons and a few small pistols, meant for crowd control. Nothing that could fight off whatever had attacked a research station. Keep trying to raise the station. Let them know help is coming, she said. Yes, Captain. Should I wake the passengers? Elena thought about that. Not yet. Let them sleep. No point in worrying them until we know what we're dealing with. The 4 hours passed like 4 years. Elena couldn't sleep. She couldn't eat. She paced the bridge, drinking cup after cup of coffee, watching the station grow larger on their screens. As they got closer, Tommy was able to get better readings. Captain, I'm picking up debris, he said quietly. Lots of it. And the station's power is fluctuating. Multiple hull breaches. Life signs. Yes. I count 7, maybe 8 people. They're clustered in one section. Looks like the medical bay. 7 or 8 out of 42. Elena felt sick. What kind of attack could kill that many people that quickly? Captain Marcus said, and his voice was strange. I'm picking up 3 ships. They're not human designs. They're just sitting there, surrounding the station. Elena moved to look at his screen. There they were. 3 vessels, each about the size of her transport. Their shapes were wrong, angular in ways that human ships weren't. They weren't moving. They were just waiting. Waiting for what? And then Elena understood. They were waiting to see who would answer the distress call. The survivors weren't survivors at all. They were bait. And she had just flown straight into the trap. Admiral James Chen had not slept well in 30 years. Every night he dreamed of the day that humanity would meet another intelligent species among the stars. In his good dreams, it was peaceful. Scientists exchanging ideas, cultures learning from each other, a new era of cooperation. In his bad dreams, it was war. Tonight his bad dreams came true. The alarm in his quarters was different from normal alerts. This one was loud, insistent, and accompanied by a red light that filled his room. Chen was out of bed before he was fully awake, his fingers already reaching for his uniform. He had drilled this moment 1,000 times. His body knew what to do, even while his mind was still catching up. He reached his command center in 3 minutes. Officers were already at their stations, their faces pale in the glow of tactical displays. Chen's second in command, Commander Sarah Park, met him at the door. A civilian transport received a distress call from Research Outpost Meridian. The station reported being under attack by non-human forces. The transport captain, Elena Vasquez, diverted to investigate. Her last transmission confirmed hostile alien contact and civilian casualties. Chen felt his stomach drop. 30 years of preparation, and it was happening now, tonight. And it had started in the worst possible way with aliens attacking unarmed civilians. Activate Protocol Omega, he said. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. Send the recall. Every ship. Every fleet. I want them converging on the silent sector within 12 hours. Sir, that's our entire military, Park said. She wasn't arguing, just confirming. This was the biggest decision any military commander had made in human history. I know exactly what it is, Commander. Send the orders. Park nodded and turned to her console. Within seconds, the command went out. Across human space, from Mars to the Jupiter colonies, to the distant outposts at the edge of explored territory, Every military vessel received the same message. Protocol. K Omega activated. Recall to silent sector. Maximum priority. Chen sat down at his command station and pulled up the tactical display. It showed human space, all the colonies and stations connected by trade routes and patrol paths. Dots began to move as ships responded to the recall. The Third Fleet, stationed at Mars, was already accelerating toward the meeting point. The Seventh Fleet, guarding the Jupiter mining colonies, had broken orbit and was preparing for faster-than-light travel. Status on all fleets, Chen ordered. An officer read from his screen. Third Fleet, 42 ships, en route. Seventh Fleet, 87 ships, en route. 10th Fleet, 31 ships, en route. Second Fleet, 112 ships, en route. We have responses from all commands. Total of 847 operational vessels, 847 warships. It was every ship humanity had. Every destroyer, every cruiser, every carrier. They were abandoning their posts, leaving colonies undefended, pulling back from patrol routes that had been maintained for decades. If this was wrong, if it was a false alarm, Chen would be remembered as the admiral who panicked and left humanity vulnerable. But he knew it wasn't wrong. The rules were clear, written by people much smarter than him. If humanity's first contact with aliens was hostile, if they attacked civilians first, the response had to be overwhelming. Not just to win, but to send a message that would echo across the galaxy. Humans protect their own. And the price for attacking them is higher than any species would want to pay. Get me a ship, Chen said. I'm taking personal command of this operation. Retribution is being prepped now, sir, Park said. She'll be ready for departure in 1 hour. Retribution. Chen allowed himself a small, grim smile. The ship's name was appropriate. She was a Dreadnought-class vessel, the newest and most powerful ship in the human fleet. She had been built over the past 5 years using technology that had never been tested in real combat. Her weapons could crack a moon in half. Her shields could withstand a nuclear blast. She was humanity's answer to the question, what if we need to fight a war in space? Now they were going to find out if she was enough. Chen spent the next hour reviewing everything they knew about the situation. It wasn't much. Research Outpost Meridian had been studying unusual mineral formations on a small moon. 42 scientists, no military presence, basic security systems. Then something had happened. The distress call mentioned an artifact, something they had found and brought on board for study, and then the aliens had come for it. Chen studied the fragments of Alina Vasquez's transmission. She had described 3 alien vessels, each roughly the size of a civilian transport. They had superior weapons, cutting through the station's hull like it was paper. They had killed most of the crew without hesitation, and most worrying, they had stayed. They hadn't taken what they wanted and left. They had waited, surrounding the station like predators waiting for prey. That suggested intelligence, planning, and it suggested they were expecting more humans to show.
Up, sir.
The retribution is ready, Park said. Chen stood up. Good. Let's go meet our new neighbors. The flight to the silent sector took 6 hours at maximum faster-than-light speed. Chen spent the time reviewing tactical plans and trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. War with an unknown species was terrifying because you didn't know their capabilities. You didn't know their weapons, their defenses, their tactics. You were flying blind, hoping your technology and training would be enough. But Chen had one advantage. The aliens didn't know about humanity either. They had seen a research station with no weapons and a civilian transport with a small crew. They thought they understood what humans were capable of. They were about to learn how wrong they were, as the retribution dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Chen saw the scope of what he had set in motion. The tactical display lit up with hundreds of friendly markers. Ships were arriving from every direction, taking up positions in a massive formation. The Second Fleet, humanity's oldest and most decorated ships. The Third Fleet, fast destroyers and cruisers. The Seventh Fleet, massive carriers already deploying fighter squadrons. All fleets report ready. Sir, an officer announced. Chen looked at the display, showing the alien vessels near the research station. 3 small ships facing 847 warships. The aliens had to know they were outmatched. They had to see what was coming for them. "Open a channel to all ships," Chen ordered. "This is Admiral James Chen, Unified Defense Command. You have attacked human civilians without provocation. You have killed unarmed scientists. You have violated every law of civilized conduct. This is your only chance to surrender those you have taken and withdraw from this system. You will not receive a second warning." The message was transmitted in every format humanity had developed, using everything they had learned from decades of trying to prepare for this moment. Radio waves, laser pulses, even gravitational fluctuations. If the aliens had any way to receive communications, they would hear it. The response came quickly. The alien ships opened fire on the Morning Star. Chen felt a cold rage settle over him. They had been given a chance. They had chosen violence. "All ships," he said quietly. "Engage at will. Disable their vessels, but keep them intact. I want prisoners, and I want their technology. Show them what humanity is capable of." The fleet moved forward. The battle began. Elena Vasquez stared at the 3 alien ships on her screen and tried to think of a way out. Her transport ship, the Morning Star, was not built for combat. She had basic shields meant to protect against space debris and a few small engines for maneuvering. Against real weapons, against ships designed for war, she had nothing. But she had people to save. 7 survivors were still alive on the research station, and 847 passengers sleeping in pods on her ship. All of them were counting on her. "Marcus, keep us between the station and those ships," she ordered. "If they want to shoot at the survivors, they'll have to go through us first." Her pilot looked at her like she was crazy. Maybe she was, but it was the only place she had. "Tommy, keep broadcasting on all emergency channels. Tell anyone who can hear us what we're facing. Send everything visual data, scanner readings, anything that might help." Young Tommy Chen's hands flew across his controls. "I'm sending it out now, Captain. But we're in the silent sector. I don't think anyone will hear it in time." Lena knew he was probably right, but she had to try. She turned to her chief of security, a former Marine named Rodriguez, who had retired to the quiet life of protecting passengers from the occasional drunk passenger or minor dispute. "Rodriguez, take a team to the station. Get those survivors on board as fast as you can." "You have 20 minutes." Rodriguez nodded, his face grim. He knew the odds as well as she did. "Yes, Captain. We'll get them." Elena watched on her screens as Rodriguez and 5 crew members suited up and launched toward the damaged station in a small shuttle. The alien ships hadn't moved. They just sat there, watching, waiting. It made Elena's skin crawl. What were they waiting for? The shuttle reached the station and docked at an airlock that was still intact. Elena could hear Rodriguez on the radio, moving through the damaged corridors. Bodies floated in some sections, frozen in the cold of space. The security team had to push them aside to reach the survivors. It took 15 minutes to reach the medical bay where the 7 people were hiding. Elena listened as Rodriguez talked to them, calming them down, getting them moving. They were terrified, barely able to function. Some of them had been injured in the attack. "We've got them, Captain," Rodriguez finally reported. Moving back to the shuttle now, Elena allowed herself to breathe. Maybe they would make it. Maybe she could get everyone out before the aliens. Decided to stop watching and start shooting. That's when Dr. Sarah Chen's voice came over the radio. She was one of the survivors, the head scientist of the station. "Captain, you need to know what happened here," Dr. Chen said. Her voice was shaky but determined. "We found something. An artifact buried in the moon's surface. It was clearly made by intelligent beings, but it was old. Millions of years old. We brought it on board to study it. And that's when they came," Alina asked. "They arrived within hours. We tried to communicate, to explain we meant no harm. They didn't respond with words. They just started killing us. They took the artifact and 6 of our people. Then they stopped. They've been sitting out there ever since." Alina felt cold spread through her chest. "They took people? Where are they now?" "On their ships, I think. I saw them dragging Dr. Martinez and the others through the airlock before we managed to seal ourselves in the medical bay." So there were more survivors. 6 people held prisoner on those alien ships. Alina closed her eyes. This just got much worse. Rodriguez, get the survivors on board. Double time. She watched the shuttle detach from the station and begin flying back to the Morning Star. The alien ships still hadn't moved. Why? What were they waiting for? Then Tommy's voice cut through her thoughts. Captain, the aliens are broadcasting. It's complex, lots of data. I'm trying to decode it. Lena moved to look at his screen. Numbers, symbols, patterns she couldn't understand. But Tommy was good with codes and languages. He had studied alien communication theory at the academy. Back when everyone thought first contact would be peaceful and friendly. Captain, I think I've got parts of it, Tommy said after a few minutes. His face was pale. They're sending demands. They want us to stay here. They're calling this area their territory. And Captain, they're sending coordinates. Coordinates to what? To other human settlements. Our colonies. Our stations. It's like they're making a list. Lena felt her blood turn to ice. This wasn't just an attack on one research station. This was reconnaissance. The aliens were gathering information about humanity, learning where we lived, preparing for something bigger. Get that data, Alina ordered. Record everything they're sending. If we make it out of here, the military needs to see this. The shuttle docked with the Morning Star. Alina watched her crew help the survivors on board. Dr. Chen was the last one off, and she went straight to the bridge. Captain Vasquez, those aliens are still out there, and they have 6 of my people, Dr. Chen said. We can't just leave them. I know, Alina said quietly, but I have 800 passengers on this ship. Civilians, families, children. I can't risk them in a rescue. Mission we have no chance of winning, so we just abandon them. Alina wanted to scream. She wanted to punch something. But she kept her voice level. I'm doing what I can, Doctor. We're broadcasting everything on emergency channels. If anyone hears us, if anyone can help, they'll come. But right now, my first duty is to the people on this ship. Dr. Chen looked like she wanted to argue, but she nodded. She understood. It was an impossible situation with no good choices. Captain, the alien ships are moving, Marcus announced. Alina spun to look at her screens. All 3 alien vessels were changing position, forming a triangle around the Morning Star. They were boxing her in, cutting off escape routes. Can we outrun them? Alina asked. Marcus shook his head. They're faster than us. If we run, they'll catch us before we can jump to faster than light speed. Weapons? They have them. I'm reading energy signatures consistent with directed energy weapons. Probably lasers or particle beams. Our shields might take 1 hit, maybe 2. After that, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Alina sat down in her captain's chair. She was out of options. She couldn't run. She couldn't fight. She couldn't even surrender because she had no way to communicate with the aliens, and they seemed to prefer shooting over talking. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship's intercom. We are in a hostile situation. Remain calm. Stay in your quarters. We will get through this. She didn't believe her own words, but she said them anyway. What else could she do? Tommy, keep broadcasting. Tell anyone listening that we're about to be attacked by hostile aliens. Give them our position. Tell them. Alina paused. What should she tell them? What were her last words going to be? Tell them humanity needs to know what's out here. Tell them to be ready. Alien ships powered up their weapons. Alina could see the energy building on her sensors. She gripped the arms of her chair and waited for the end. And then, like a miracle, space itself seemed to tear open. Dozens of human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, peering between the Morning Star and the alien vessels. More ships followed, and more. Until the space around Elena's transport was filled with the largest military fleet she had ever seen. A face appeared on her screen. An older man in an admiral's uniform, Captain Vasquez. This is Admiral James Chen of the Unified Defense Command. You and your passengers are safe now. We'll take it from here. Lena couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears running down her face. Her crew was cheering. The survivors from the station were crying with relief. Humanity's fleet had arrived, and the aliens were about to learn what a terrible mistake they had made. The alien vessels detected the human war fleet 3 hours before they arrived. Their sensors, which had been quietly watching the silent sector, suddenly lit up with incoming ships. Dozens at first, then hundreds. The 3 alien commanders, if they could be called that, must have felt something like confusion or fear. They had been expecting perhaps a few patrol ships, a small local response. What was coming toward them was something entirely different. The second fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel first. 112 warships. Each one battle-tested and commanded by veterans who had fought pirates and rebels across human space. They took up defensive positions around the Morning Star, their weapons systems coming online, targeting solutions already calculated. The alien ships found themselves suddenly surrounded by vessels much larger and more heavily armed than anything they had seen before. Then came the third fleet. 42 destroyers and cruisers, sleek and fast, designed for quick strikes and rapid response. They spread out in a wide formation, cutting off any escape routes the aliens might try to use. Their fighter squadrons launched, small one-person craft that swarmed like angry insects. Adding another layer to the human defense, the 7th Fleet arrived next, bringing massive carriers and heavy cruisers from the Jupiter colonies. 87 ships. Many of them converted civilian vessels that had been upgraded with military weapons. During humanity's expansion into the outer solar system, they weren't pretty, but they were deadly, and they added their firepower to the growing wall of human military might. Finally, Admiral Chen's retribution appeared at the center of the formation. Surrounded by the experimental ships of the 10th Fleet, these were the newest vessels in humanity's arsenal, carrying weapons and defenses that had never been tested in real combat. Particle beam cannons that could punch through almost any armor. Electromagnetic pulse generators that could fry electronic systems from a distance. Missile systems with warheads that could think for themselves. Adjusting their course to hit moving targets, the tactical display on the Retribution's bridge showed every ship in perfect formation. 847 vessels, representing 3 centuries of human military development and trillions of credits and resources. It was the most powerful fighting force humanity had ever assembled. And it had been brought together for one purpose: to send a message. Admiral Chen stood on his bridge, looking at the 3 small alien ships on his screen. They looked insignificant now, tiny compared to the armada surrounding them. But he couldn't forget that these same ships had killed dozens of unarmed civilians and were holding 6 humans prisoner. Size didn't matter. What mattered was what they had done, and what humanity needed to do in response. "Open all channels," Chen ordered. "Transmit on every frequency we can generate." A communications officer nodded. "Channels open, sir." Chen took a deep breath. This message would be recorded, studied, analyzed by historians and military strategists for centuries. It needed to be clear, firm, and impossible to misunderstand. Attention alien vessels. This is Admiral James Chen, of the United Earth Defense Command, speaking for all humanity. You have attacked our civilians without provocation. You have killed unarmed scientists engaged in peaceful research. You have taken prisoners from their lawful duty station. You are surrounded by the full military might of human civilization. You have one chance, and one chance only, to surrender your prisoners and withdraw from this system. You have 60 seconds to comply. If you take any hostile action, you will be destroyed. This is your only warning. The message was transmitted in every format humanity could devise. Radio waves across multiple frequencies, laser communications, even gravitational wave pulses that could theoretically be detected by any species with advanced technology. If the aliens had any way to receive messages, they would hear this one. Chen watched the countdown on his screen. 60 seconds. 59. 58. He found himself hoping the aliens would surrender. Despite everything, despite the deaths and the kidnappings, he didn't want to start an interstellar war if it could be avoided. Peace was always better than war, but he was also realistic. The aliens had shown who they were with their first action. They had chosen violence over communication. They had killed when they could have talked. And now they were facing the consequences of those choices. 30 seconds. 29, 28. Sir, I'm reading energy spikes on the alien vessels, a tactical officer reported. They're powering up their weapons. Chen felt something cold settle in his chest. So that was their answer. Even now, facing overwhelming force, they chose to fight rather than surrender. All ships, weapons free, Chen ordered. Target their propulsion and weapons systems. Disable, don't destroy. I want prisoners, and I want their technology intact. Yes, sir, came the responses from across the fleet. The aliens fired first. 3 ships unleashing everything they had at the nearest human vessels. Energy weapons that had carved through the research station's hull like butter. Now struck military-grade shields and were absorbed almost completely. A few shots got through, scorching armor plating, but causing no real damage. The human ships had been built for war. The alien weapons, deadly against civilians, were barely an inconvenience against military targets. Return fire, Chen said quietly. What happened next lasted 6 minutes and 47 seconds. Later, military academies would study the battle as a perfect example of overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. But for Chen, standing on the bridge of the Retribution, it felt like an eternity. The Third Fleet's destroyers moved first, their particle beam weapons lancing out to strike the alien ship's engines. The beams focused streams of subatomic particles moving at near light speed, punched through the alien hulls with ease. Explosions blossomed silently in space as the alien propulsion systems died. The Seventh Fleet's carriers launched electromagnetic pulse missiles. These weapons, developed to disable pirate ships without destroying them, released massive bursts of electromagnetic energy. The alien ship's electronics, whatever strange technology they used, simply shut down. Navigation, weapons, life support, everything went dark. The 10th Fleet, holding back slightly, deployed their experimental weapons. Smart missiles that curved around debris fields, seeking out the alien weapon systems and destroying them with pinpoint accuracy. Gravitic disruptors that created localized distortions in space-time, making it impossible for the alien ships to maneuver, even if their engines had still been working. And through it all, the Second Fleet held position around the Morning Star. Their weapons locked on the alien ships, but not firing. They were the reserve, ready to step in if needed. But also serving as a shield between the civilians and any stray shots. In less than 7 minutes, it was over. 3 alien ships floated dead in space, their systems completely disabled, but their hulls mostly intact. No explosions. No debris fields. Just 3 vessels, dark and silent, waiting for human forces to board them. Chen allowed himself to breathe. Casualties. None, sir, his tactical officer reported. Some minor damage to the destroyer Achilles. She took a direct hit before her shields adapted. Crew is fine, repairs are minor, and the alien ships. Dead in space, sir? No energy readings except for basic life support. I'm picking up life signs on all 3 vessels. Good, that meant survivors. People who could be questioned, who could tell humanity what they needed to know about this new threat. Commander Park, prepare boarding teams, Chen ordered. Marines in full combat gear. I want those ships secured and any prisoners recovered. And get our science teams ready. I want every piece of alien technology documented and analyzed. Yes, sir. Teams are already prepping. Chen turned to look at the Morning Star on his screen. The civilian transport looked so small and fragile compared to his warships. Hard to believe that this massive military operation had begun because one captain had answered a distress call. Get me Captain Vasquez, he said. Elena's face appeared on his screen a moment later. She looked exhausted, and there were tear tracks on her face, but she was smiling. Captain Vasquez, take your ship and your passengers to safety immediately, Chen told her. You've done more than enough. We'll handle things from here. Thank you, Admiral, Elena said. Her voice was shaking. Thank you for coming. Did the right thing, Captain. Answering that distress call. protecting those survivors. Not many people would have done what you did, Elena nodded, seeming unable to speak. Chen ended the transmission and watched as the morning star slowly accelerated away, leaving the battle site behind. She would reach Kepler 44 to be in a few weeks, late but safe. Her passengers would never know how close they had come to becoming. Casualties of humanity's first war with an alien species. Now came the hard part. Chen had won the battle, but the war, if there was going to be one, had just begun. The boarding operation took 4 hours. Admiral Chen watched from the Retribution's bridge as his Marines moved through the disabled alien vessels. Searching for survivors and securing every section, it was dangerous work. Even with the ships powered down, there was no telling what traps or automated defenses might still be active. But his Marines were professionals, trained for exactly this kind of operation, the first team to reach the prisoners. Sent back a transmission that made Chen's chest tight with relief. "Sir, we've found them. All 6 hostages are alive. They're scared and need medical attention, but they're alive. Get them back to the Retribution immediately," Chen ordered. "Have medical teams standing by." He watched on his screens as the rescued scientists were carefully moved from the alien ship to a human transport. They were still in their research station uniforms, looking small and fragile in the massive cargo bay of the alien vessel. One of them was injured, being carried on a stretcher, but they were all breathing, all alive. That was 6 lives saved. Against the 42 who had died on the research station, it felt like a small victory, but Chen would take it. The Marines also found aliens. Living ones. The creatures were like nothing humans had imagined. They had 6 limbs, hard outer shells like insects, and multiple eyes that seemed to see in directions humans couldn't comprehend. They moved in ways that looked wrong, disturbing, but they were clearly intelligent. Their ships proved that, and now they were prisoners locked in holding cells on human vessels, waiting to be questioned. But the most important find came from the communications team. Lieutenant Maria Santos, a specialist in cryptography and signal analysis, discovered the alien faster-than-light communication network. It was built into every ship, a quantum-entangled system that could send messages across vast distances instantly. And because the human fleet had disabled the ships without destroying them, the network was still active. "Admiral, this is incredible," Santos reported, her voice excited despite the grim circumstances. "They have communication nodes spread across multiple star systems. I'm picking up signals from at least 50 different locations. Some of them are ships, but others appear to be fixed installations. Colonies or bases, maybe." Chun leaned forward in his chair. "Can we access it? Can we send messages through their network?" "Yes, sir. We've cracked their basic protocols. It's risky, we don't fully understand the system yet, but we can send data through it." "Then prepare a transmission," Chen said. "I want it ready in 1 hour." He called together his senior staff and the head of the fleet's science division. Together, they crafted the most important message humanity had ever sent. Every word was debated, every image carefully chosen. This wasn't just a message to the aliens who had attacked the research station. This was a message to their entire civilization, and possibly to other alien species who might be listening. The message began with complete tactical footage of the battle. Every angle, every shot, showing clearly how the human fleet had defeated the alien ships. Not edited, not dramatized, just the raw facts. 3 alien vessels had been disabled in less than 7 minutes by a coordinated military operation. Then came data on the human fleet itself. The number of ships, their capabilities, their weapon systems. Chen debated, including this it revealed human military strength to potential enemies, but decided it was necessary. The aliens needed to understand exactly what they had provoked. They needed to know that the force that had defeated their reconnaissance ships was not a local patrol or a small defensive fleet. It was everything humanity had. Next came images of the research station, showing the dead scientists floating in the destroyed sections. Evidence of what the aliens had done. Not to make them feel guilty. Chen had no idea if these creatures even understood guilt, but to make clear what had started this conflict. Humans had not attacked first. Humans had been peacefully studying a moon when they were massacred. And finally, the declaration. Chen recorded it himself, standing in full uniform in front of the flags of all Earth's nations. The message was translated into mathematical and symbolic languages that any technological species should be able to decode. It was also included in the aliens' own language. Based on what the cryptography teams had learned from their communications, I am Admiral James Chen, speaking for the United Earth Defense Command and all of humanity. Your forces attacked our civilians without warning or provocation. You killed unarmed scientists engaged in peaceful research. You took prisoners. These actions violated the most basic laws of civilized conduct. Chen paused, letting that sink in. Then he continued. Humanity does not claim territory beyond our own systems. We do not seek conflict with other intelligent species. We hope to build peaceful relationships with all sentient beings we encounter in the galaxy. But we will not tolerate attacks on our civilians. We will not allow our people to be killed or kidnapped. We protect our own with absolute commitment. The force you have witnessed here today represents the full military might of human civilization. 847 warships, carrying weapons capable of destroying planets. This fleet was assembled in response to your attack. We are showing you what happens when you threaten unarmed humans. Your ships have been disabled, not destroyed. Your crews have been taken prisoner, not killed. This is intentional. We do not seek genocide or conquest. We seek understanding and peace. But that peace must be based on mutual respect and the understanding that humans, while preferring peace, are fully capable of war. We are returning your ships to you. Along with your surviving crew members, take them. Learn from what has happened here. Share this message with your leaders, your governments, whatever structure commands your people. Let them know that humanity desires peace, but will answer any future aggression with overwhelming force. To other species who may receive this transmission, we are humans. We come in peace, but we are not defenseless. We offer friendship and cooperation to all who approach us in the same spirit. But to those who would prey upon our civilians, who would see our peaceful nature as weakness, let this serve as warning. Humanity protects its own. Chen finished the recording and sent it to Santos. Send that through every channel the aliens have. I want every ship, every base, every colony they have to receive it. Can you do that? Yes, sir. It might take a few hours to propagate through their entire network, but everyone connected to their system will receive it. Do it. Over the next 12 hours, human Marines finished documenting the alien technology. Human scientists examined the prisoners and tried to establish communication. And human engineers repaired the alien ships just enough for them to limp home under their own power. It was decided not to give them full capability, letting potentially hostile aliens jump away at full speed seemed foolish, but enough power to slowly make their way back to wherever they came from. The 6 rescued scientists were taken to the medical bay on the Retribution. Chen visited them personally, wanting to hear their stories firsthand. Dr. Martinez, the lead researcher who had been taken prisoner, told him about the artifact they had found. It was beautiful. Admiral, she said, her voice still shaky from the ordeal. A perfect sphere, covered in symbols we couldn't read. It hummed with energy. We think it was some kind of beacon or message, left by an ancient civilization. The aliens wanted it, Chen asked, desperately. They weren't trying to communicate with us. They just wanted the artifact, and they were willing to kill everyone to get it. I don't think they saw us as people, Admiral. I think they saw us as obstacles. Chen nodded slowly. That was important information. It suggested these aliens didn't view humans as equals, or even as sentient beings worth communicating with. That would make future contact difficult, but it also explained their brutal tactics. Did they hurt you? He asked quietly. They kept us in cells. They didn't feed us or give us water. I don't think they understood we needed those things. One of our team, Dr. Reynolds, has diabetes. Without his medication, she couldn't finish the sentence. Chen put a hand on her shoulder. You're safe now. All of you. And those creatures will think twice before attacking humans again. 3 days after the battle, the alien ships were ready for release. Chen had them towed to the edge of the silent sector, away from any human colonies or stations. Then, on his signal, the tow cables were released. The alien vessels began their slow journey home, carrying the message humanity had sent and the survivors who would tell the story of what had happened. The human fleet dispersed, returning to their posts across human space. The second fleet went back to their patrols near Earth. The third fleet returned to Mars. The seventh fleet resumed their protection of the Jupiter colonies. But they all knew they could be recalled again if needed. Protocol Omega was no longer just a theoretical plan. It was proven. It worked. Chen remained in the silent sector for another week, establishing a permanent military presence. A new station was built, heavily armed and fortified, manned by Marines and scientists working together. Research Outpost Meridian was rebuilt, this time with actual defenses and a small fleet of patrol ships watching over it and deep in the moon's surface. The crater where the artifact had been found was filled in and marked with a warning beacon. Whatever the artifact was, whatever ancient civilization had left it there, it was gone now. The aliens had taken it. But the message was clear. This was human territory now. It would be defended. Elena Vasquez delivered her passengers to Kepler-4 for it to be 3 weeks behind schedule. She filed her report with her company, expecting to be fired for the delay and the detour. Instead, she received a message from Admiral Chen himself. Captain Vasquez, your actions during the Meridian incident showed courage, quick thinking, and a commitment to human life that exemplifies the best of our species. I am offering you a commission in the United Earths Defense Command. We need officers like you. People who will answer the call when others are in danger. People who will do the right thing even when it's hard. If you're interested, report to the recruitment office at your earliest convenience. Elena read the message 3 times. Then she looked out the window of her ship at the stars. Somewhere out there were aliens who had killed humans. And somewhere out there were probably other aliens, species humanity hadn't met yet. The galaxy was bigger and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Tommy, she called to her communications officer, send a message to Admiral Chen. Tell him I accept his offer. The Meridian incident, as it came to be known, changed everything. Humanity learned that they were not alone in the galaxy. They learned that first contact could be hostile. And they learned that their military, their ships, their weapons were enough to defend against threats. But most importantly, humanity sent a message that would echo through the galaxy for generations. They were peaceful. They wanted cooperation and friendship with other species. But they would protect their own, no matter the cost. And any species that threatened unarmed human civilians would face the full might of humanity's war machine. It was not the first contact anyone had hoped for, but it was the one that would keep humanity safe in a galaxy that turned out to be far more dangerous than anyone had dreamed.